Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we are continuing our coverage of the ongoing civil war taking place inside of the former state of Ethiopia. And there had been some comments recently in the comment section and some general inquiries about the reported ongoing buildup by the Eritrean Army to the north of the Tigray region. Specifically, we have seen some Eritrean forces moving into and have been in the Afar region. Obviously, there are Eritrean forces to the north of Adigrat near Zalambesa. And we continue to see Eritrean forces to the northwest of Shiraro, and obviously there are Eritrean forces currently stationed in western Tigray, specifically Humera. After the defunct invasion, the unsuccessful invasion by the joint forces of the Abiy Ahmed regime and the Isaias Afwerki regime in Eritrea, and after those forces were then evicted from the Tigray region, the only benefit, the only success for Eritrean forces would have been and is the seizure of Western Tigray, and specifically Eritrean troops in Humera. But the expense of both treasure and human capital as well in the ensuing invasion cost the Eritrean military greatly, as it also cost the Abiy loyalist formations, the ENDF, the Amhara regional militia forces, greatly as well. And right now, we do see some deployments of ENDF forces within the vicinity of Weldia and north of Weldia towards Kobo. And we have seen the strengthening of some ENDF positions and Amhara regional force positions, specifically near Sakota and just to the north of Debark. Now, with that being said, are we getting ready to see a renewed military operation by the ENDF, by the Eritrean Army into the Tigray region? I believe that at this point is highly likely. Right now, the ENDF, the Abiy loyalists, are really tied down in engagements against the Oromo Liberation Army, and quite frankly, they are not performing very successfully against the Oromo Liberation Army. We continue to see the OLA control territory, control towns, control vital arteries and roadways inside of the Oromia region. And we also continue to see, more importantly, an increased level of the civilian population starting to support the Oromo Liberation Army. And that is making it very, very difficult for those Abiy loyalist formations, Amhara forces that were deployed into Oromia, and obviously the federal police forces and some of the regional forces that continue to be loyal to Abiy Ahmed. Now, with that being said, could we see a Eritrean force construct that would have the capability of re-invading the Tigray region? Again, I think that is highly unlikely. If the Eritrean Army had the ability to remain inside of northern Tigray and control these buffer zones from Adigrat, Adwa, Axum, Shiraro, we would continue to see the Eritrean Army maintaining positional forces in northern Tigray. But the Eritrean Army was in fact defeated on the battlefield in a lot of these areas, and where the Eritrean military made significant mistakes was attempting to move out of its strong points near Adwa, Axum, and move into the Tinbian region, into kind of the south-central mountainous areas of the Tigray region. And we know there was somewhat of a joint operation with ENDF forces moving west from near Mekelle, again trying to move into the Tinbian region. And those forces suffered greatly, suffered a great many casualties in that operation. And then once the Tigrayan Defense Force counterattack ensued, they were not even able to hold their positions near Mekelle. And once the ENDF started to withdraw, the Eritrean Army was very much aware that their position in the northern Tigray region had become tenuous at best, and were forced to withdraw. So the likelihood that we would see a repeat of just a lone Eritrean invasion of northern Tigray, I think, is highly unlikely. The only reason the Eritrean Army was successful in the initial stages of the conflict, well over a year ago, was because the Tigrayan Defense Forces had not fully mobilized. When the invasion first occurred and took place, we estimate that the TDF, the Tigrayan Defense Forces, numbered no more than about 10,000 personnel. Some estimates anywhere from 9 to 10,000 personnel. And that was the force that was available initially by the Tigrayan Defense Forces to engage these invading forces from both Ethiopia, the Amhara region, and Eritrea. But as we sit and we watch what is happening today, the Tigrayan Defense Forces have been fully mobilized, and the likelihood that we would see a successful invasion of the Tigray region by just the Eritrean Army, I think, would be highly unlikely, and I think the operation eventually would become unsuccessful. There may be some early successes in some areas. If the Eritrean Army was to launch said operation, we hear about the possibility of Eritrean forces coming through the Afar region, but I think given the infrastructure that exists and the magnitude of forces that would be required of the Eritrean Army to invade the Tigray region again, that infrastructure is not present in the Afar region to sustain huge volumes of forces. And the invasion routes for the Eritrean Army are really 2 to 3 locales that would sustain an Eritrean force reinvading the Tigray region, and that's kind of what led to the disintegration of the Eritrean Army in the previous conflict, when the Eritrean Army had occupied large areas of northern Tigray, many of these northern cities. And it became very, very difficult for the Eritrean Army to continue to supply itself with much-needed supplies, and that's kind of why we saw the rape and pillage of the Tigray region, was because those Eritrean forces were not being adequately supplied, so that forced the Eritrean Army to pillage the local populace, which really turned the local populace even more against the Eritrean Army. So the Eritrean Army has less capability now after the casualties it sustained in the first invasion, so it just doesn't really make any reasonable sense that we would see a repeat with less capability and a fully mobilized Tigrayan Defense Forces. I hope that makes sense. So, again, the probability of a renewed invasion, I would say, is low. I would say it's quite possibly more likely that we could see some sort of Tigrayan Defense Force operation against the Eritreans at some point, and that is very much possible. The capability is certainly there. Now, whether that trigger will be pulled, it's difficult to say. But right now, I don't see a renewed invasion of Tigray by Eritrea, especially with the ENDF, the Abiy loyalist forces, really being tied down and having a very, very difficult time with an increasingly capable Oromo Liberation Army. That's all we have for today. More to come. Have a good day, everybody.